Hello everyone, this is Mrs. Snook with section 3.1, exponential functions and their graphs. We're going to do this section over 2 days. So this is 3.1 day 1. And our objectives for this first day is to recognize and evaluate exponential functions with a base of a, and that base can change depending upon the function you're looking at. Graph the exponential functions, and to recognize, evaluate, and graph exponential functions with base e. And e is a special number that comes from if you evaluate 1 plus 1 over x to the x. As x gets large, this is e. As x gets large, e is going to trend towards this number. I'm going to write it down for you. 2.718281828, and so on. It's kind of like pi in that it's a number that you can get from your calculator, and it's a special number. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to evaluate exponential functions, and I want you to notice all of these, the base is 2. And you're going to use your calculator to evaluate these. I'm going to get my calculator going. So the first one is f of x is 2 to the x, and then x is negative 3.1. So what I want to put in my calculator is 2 to the negative 3.1. Let's see if I can do a snap. So this is going to be 2 to the negative 3.1, and I put that in my calculator like this. I press the 2, this little caret, negative 3.1, and out is our answer, 0.166. So this equals approximately 0.1166. Next, we're going to do 2 to the negative pi. So 2 hat negative second pi. And we get 0.1133. Next one is 0.6 to the x. So we're going to do 0.6 raised to the 3/2, just like this. 0.6, there's your 0.6, raise that to the 3/2. And this is 0.4648. And then 1.05 to the 2x. That's going to be 1.05 raised to the 2 times 12. 1.05 raised to 2 times 12. And I get 3.225. Right, the next idea is to graph these. And we are going to graph f of x equals 2 to the x, and g of x is 4 to the x on the same set of axes. So in this case, for a, our base is 2, and for b, the base is 4. So I'm going to set up an xy table, and I'm going to use -1, 0, 1, and 2 for my x's. And so -1 is going to be 2 to the -1, and that equals 1/2. So I have a point there. And then 0 is 2 to the 0, that is 1. Put in 1, you get 2 to the 1, that is 2. Put in 2, you get 2 to the 2, which is 4. So I have my points here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I missed a little bit. Yeah. -1 is 1/2. 1 is 0 is 1, and then we have 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And then just try to make a nice smooth curve through those. So in black, that's my f of x is 2 to the x. And I'm going to change colors, and I'm going to use Wildcat Red for g of x. And I'm going to make an xy table over there as well. And again, I'm going to use -1, 0, 1, and 2. And I'm just going to plug in all of these to x. So I get 1/4, 1, 4, and 16. All right, so now let's plot those. So, well, come back right about there. And then 0, 1 still there. 1, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, right there. And then 16 is way up here. So this graph is going to look something like that. Now what happens if we have the same base, but this time we're using -x? So -x. That means our x was multiplied by a -1, and you should see a horizontal flip. So let's sketch this graph, or these graphs. Again, I'm going to make an xy table. And I'm going to do 2, 1, 0, -1. Oh, no, how about -2, -1, 0, and +1? I like that better. So 2 to the negative of -2 is going to be 2 squared. That equals 4. 2 to the negative of -1 is 2 to the 1, or 2. And then we have 1 and 1/2. So at -2, we have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. -1, we have 2. And then try to make a smooth curve through here. Now we're going to do the same thing with 4 to the -x. Do an xy table. And then I'm just going to plug in my my x's into the exponent. So I'm going to get 16, 4, 1, and 1/4. 16 is really high. It's off the grid, so I'm not going to plot that. But I can do -1 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can do 0, 1. And I can try to squeeze in my 1/4 round about there. So here's what this graph looks like. Oops. We don't want to go below 0. Let's try again. There we go. Something like that. And now if you compare to the original ones, we do indeed have a horizontal flip. All right. So now let's start talking about transformations. And I kind of, did a little bit of that in our last example. I'm going to go ahead and move the calculator out of the way. And so to remember, our parent function is a to the x, and in this case, we've chosen 3 to the x. And I just want to remind you that we're going to use a, h, and k, just like we've done with our previous functions. So we can rewrite this parent function as f of x equals a 3 to the x minus h plus k. And just like before, a is going to govern a stretch, compress, flip. H governs left and right. And K governs up and down. So I look at A, and I have H equals -1. So this is going to go left 1. Just remember, you're going to change your sign on H. And in B, I have K equals -2. So this is going to be a down 2. On C, I have A equals -1. So this is going to be a vertical flip. And now look at D. We've got a -x. And so when you are doing a negative times your x, that's going to cause a horizontal flip. Just like we saw in our previous graphs. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is the natural exponential function. That's where we get that number e. And I'm going to write it down. E is 2.7182828, and it goes on and on. You can use this on your calculator. So we're going to use our calculator to do each one of these. Okay, so first we're going to do e to the -2. So on your calculator, press second, come down here to ln, that brings in e, and then -2, and hit enter, and we got 0.1353. Our next one is e to the 0.25. So second, and then put 0.25 in your exponent, and I get 1.284. Now let's see what happens with a negative decimal. So e to the -0.4. I got 0.6703. And last, we're going to do e to the 2/3. Now notice, I'm going to put in a parentheses because I want to make sure that 2/3, all of that is in the exponent. 1.948. All right, now we're going to graph some of these. And this is going to be our last example. We've got 2 that we're going to graph. Now I want you to bear in mind that these are exponential functions, so they're going to have that same shape. This one is going to curve up. This one you have a 1/2 and a flip, so it's going to look something like that. And because we have these big fancy numbers, namely the e and the 0.24x, we're going to have to get ourselves some points. So I'm going to go to my calculator, and I'm going to get some points. I'm going to do, let's do -2, -1, 0, and 1, just like we did before. And I'm going to do second, ln to get the e to the x. Wait a minute, let me back up. I want to do 2 times second natural log. That gives me the e. And I want 0.24, and I'm going to times that by -2. And I got 1.238. I'm going to go back in and do the same thing, this time with -1. Here's a shortcut. Arrow up to here, press enter, and I'm going to back up, and instead of doing -2, I'm going to do a -1. So 0.248 times negative 1. And I get 1.561. I know anytime I put 0 in an exponent, I'm just going to get 1. And then let's put in 1. So now we're going to do second 10 log e. Sorry, I keep messing that up. 2 times second of 0.24 times 1. And I get 2.54. And made a little mistake here. So I know when I put in my exponent, I'm going to get a 1 coming out when you have a 0, but this is a times 2. All right, so now let's graph this one. So at 0, I have a point at 2. Negative 2, it's 1.2. Right about there. Just kind of eyeball it. Negative 1 is a 1.5. And then at Then at 1, we have 2.54. So this graph looks something like this. Now let's do this other one. We have 1/2 e to the negative 0.58x, and we think we're going to have a horizontal flip, so I'm going to move my axes so they're more over here. And I'm going to do another xy table. I'm going to do, let's do -2, -1, 0, 1. And let's punch this into our calculator. So I'm going to clear all of this. I'm going to do 1/2, that's 0.5, times e to the negative 0.58 times -2. And I get 1.595. Now let's put a -1 in there. And I get 0.893, 0.8930. I'm going to put a 0 in, and that means I'm going to get a 1 out of my exponent and times the 1/2, so I get a 0.5. Now we're going to put a 1 in there. So I'm going to go back up here, press enter, and then I'm just going to back up over that -1. And it's going to be a times 1. And I got another 0.893. I think I missed a negative. Did that one over in the calculator again, and I've got 0.2799. So graphing, again, just eyeball it as best as you can. So for -2, we are at 1.59, so right about there. -1, we're a little bit below 1, so right about there. And then at 0, we're at 1/2, so right about there, and a little bit lower. So this looks like this. All right. That's it for today's lesson. Thank you for watching and have a great day.